I haven't cleaned it, but it definitely needs some massive TLC.
Right, we're rolling, man.
Oh, wait, I better put the hat back on. What went down at the Silver Mountain Race? It's a 1,700 kilometre gravel race with 26,000 metres of climbing. It's pretty much completely off-road apart from 80 kilometres, and it's damn tough. 94 riders started. The last time I checked, over half the field is scratched already, and obviously I've scratched, hence I'm home early with a very sorry looking bike. One of the biggest highlights for me was the second night where we were invited to stay with a family in a small village. Pushed quite hard to get into the food resupply point. About 5 kilometres of it were on a bit of road that felt like you're cycling along on a washboard, so the whole bike's just doing this, and Rob and myself were going, it's got to be close to this food stop soon. We eventually got into the town, and there's one building that had 2 lights on outside. We almost cycled straight past it, but I shouted at Rob, I was like, that's definitely a shop, let's go in there, or if it's not a shop, let's just go in there anyway. So we walked in there, it was a shop. The kid that was running the shop at the time gave me his stool so I could sit down, and there was a chair in there as well which Rob was sitting on, and we just sat there and ate. And then we're trying to think where we were going to sleep that night, and Rob sort of said, oh, should we just ask the family if we can stay with them? And so we asked the kid that was running the shop, we were like, can we have you got anywhere we can sleep? And his response was, oh, you want to sleep in the forest? And we're like, no, don't want to sleep in the forest. He looks at us, and then he looks back to basically the house and goes, Mama! And his mum walks out, and he talks to her for a minute, and she's like, yeah, of course, I'll let me sort it all out, sort a room out for you. And she walked off and vanished for like half an hour, and then appeared again and took us to this building outside, and she'd set up loads of rugs on the floor, and she was like, just bring your sleeping bags in, take what you need off the bike. And she said that she'd locked the bikes up in the garage so they were safe. And we were tired and pretty knackered, and obviously incredibly thankful for that, so we sort of got ourselves ready for bed, got changed and everything like that. And then we started just cooking a bit of food, because we didn't want to ask them for any food or anything. We thought we'd just sort ourselves out. And the son appeared from the shop with a massive plate of dumplings for us, and the pair of us just were like, oh my god, They lasted about 4 seconds, I reckon. The mum came out and she was like, chai, do you want chai? And we're like, oh, a cup of tea would be pretty spot on actually this morning. Little did we know that saying yes to a cup of tea in Kyrgyzstan is saying yes to a sit down meal with the family. We sat down and had breakfast with them, so same thing, a massive plate of dumplings each, freshly made bread, honey, butter, little cakes, loads of tea, and the wife sat there going, basically pointing at us, telling us that we were too thin. We were both sitting there going, no, can't fit any more in here. That as a whole experience is such a highlight to kind of witness the hospitality of the locals. I think the people were a massive highlight of the country. You kind of blew me away how welcoming and friendly they were, and how really inquisitive they are of what you're doing as well. One of the other things that really took me back was the scenery, and the vasting differences in the scenery from every half a day. So the first day we were climbing one particular mountain which is 4,000 meters high, and it feels like being on top of the world. You're properly in the clouds, really rocky, really barren, but really beautiful at the same time, glaciers on either side of you. And then the next day we're pretty much in the desert, and it was 45 degrees. Felt like being, properly in the middle of nowhere, but in reality we weren't actually that far away from the mountain. And so the kind of things we got to see in a very short period of time was pretty incredible, from the wildlife, the scenery, the nature, the different elements in the weather, and as I say, fundamentally the people being so incredibly welcoming. It really kind of blew myself and Rob away, I think.